Any kind of branches, trees, plants, anything like that does not belong in there. It's not recyclable. The collection center won't take it. So
Right.
basically, I just leave this notice on top of the lid like this. Leave it closed, like that. Yard waste, and that's it. And the driver knows not to collect this.
And if there's ever confusion, there's even an app that takes out the guesswork.
So the Recycle Coach app, it's easy. You just put in your street, your zip code, and it will notify you the day before on your phone. You get a notification and say, hey, tomorrow's your trash day, and you put the tan lid out.
Wow.
It'll give you notifications,
Okay, I like that.
so you can't mess it up.
I like that. From drivers to planners, each role shows the same thing: pride in their work and pride in serving the community.
I do the best I can for y'all.
Learned a lot today, had a great experience with the gentleman from Solid Waste Division of Public Works. What I learned today was that we have a lot of programs I don't think citizens are aware of to take advantage of, whether it's cardboard collection, whether it's tote cleaning, or also just the fact that we have one gentleman, Mr. Mario, who goes out through the entire city making sure that we recycle properly. Please make sure that we recycle properly so that we can get the best, most efficient use of our solid waste throughout the entire city. It was great to be here today, and thank you for tuning in. See you on the next job.
Residents may begin to see some changes taking place here at Fire Station 81 on Sumter Boulevard. And here to tell us more about it is Deputy Chief Nick Herlihy. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Madison.
So tell us about what's going to be going on at Station 81 in the coming months.
So in a few weeks, we will see the station being torn down, and the crews that normally respond out of this station are moving into the temporary fire station, which you can see in the background, and our fire admin will be moving into City Hall.
So it's being torn down completely and being built back up, right? Not being retrofitted?
That's correct. The project started out as a remodel, and our design was more to just add a little bit of square footage. The building's not that old. It was built in '98, but after the hurricanes, we had to bring the building up to current code. Different codes existed in 1998, so that process led to a cheaper option, which was to tear down and rebuild.
Sure. So is there a general timeline for how long this project is going to take?
Yeah, so the tear down should start in December. So by the end of the year, it should be all flat ground. And then we're being told anywhere between 12 and 14 months before the new station is complete and ready for our crews to move back in.
Gotcha. Okay. So with a project like this, what does the cost look like and where are those funds coming from?
So the majority of the funding is through surtax. The total project is around $17.5 million.
So since a brand new building is being built, what kind of improvements can be made by taking that route?
So one of the biggest is we are a critical infrastructure building, so our crews are expected to respond as soon as the storm clears. The new building will be rated up to a Category 5 hurricane, and that meets the code for our wind load this far inland because we get a little bit less intense winds as we get away from the coast.
Sure, that makes sense. So we're coming up here on some beautiful trees.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about the plan for these. Are some of them sticking around? What is your plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we did very early in the project is we recognized that to the best that we could, we wanted to save as many trees as we could, but especially the mature oaks.
Sure.
They provide a lot of shade and they're beautiful and, you know, native to Florida. So we worked with the contractor to design the parking lot in a way that we could really maximize the ability to keep these trees. So a large amount of these more mature oaks that you see that we're standing under the nice shade canopy, we were able to keep a lot of these trees. Some of the smaller oak trees and some of the older palm trees we won't be able to keep, but we worked with the city arborist to ensure that, you know, we did the best we could with how that design can be and found out that honestly some of the palm trees are at their end of life as is.
Got it. Okay, well that's great. I know a lot of the residents are going to really appreciate that as well. So to cap it off, service is staying the same. Everyone's getting the same level going forward.
Yeah, Madison, you're right. So the crews that normally operate out of this fire station are just going to be a little ways down the road in a temp station with a temporary apparatus bay. And all of our administrative staff from Fire Rescue are moving into City Hall, which is right down the street. And if you need anything from Fire Rescue, you can go in the front doors of City Hall, turn to your left where Economic Development just moved into, and you'll see a friendly face from Fire Rescue ready to help you out.
That's great, continuing to provide that exceptional customer service. So I really appreciate all the information, Chief. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
The city wakes before you do. Quiet work already in motion. Work continues, even after you've gone. The way forward, kept ready. Every step, every turn, prepared long before you arrive. When your day ends, others begin theirs. Every hour, every act, quietly connected.
Most of us don't think about how our city works. We drive on maintained roads, we call when there's an emergency, we assume someone's keeping it all running. And they are. Northport University gives residents a chance to step behind the scenes, to meet the people doing the work, to see how decisions are made, and to understand how we, as a community, can be part of it. It's not just about learning the facts. It's about learning where you fit in and how you could shape the city we call home.
The most surprising thing would probably be the opportunity to get tased, which is really cool, understanding how that feels. Would recommend for everyone, unless they have a heart condition. I think another thing would probably be how many people it takes to run everything.
Is how well all the departments work together and how well.
I know he's around somewhere. He might have just went to the potty. Good evening. Today is Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 at 6 p.m. We're in the city chambers and I call the city commission regular meeting to order. Commissioners present are Commissioner Duvall, Commissioner Stokes, Mayor Emmerich, Vice Mayor Langdon, and Commissioner Petro. There is a quorum present for this meeting. Also present are City Manager Fletcher, City Attorney Fuino, City Clerk Faust, Board Specialist Linder. We have Deputy Chief Morales and Fire Chief Titus in the back. And Madison, would you like to lead us in the pledge, please?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Request a motion to approve the agenda.
So,
second. I have a motion to approve the agenda made by Vice Mayor Langdon, seconded by Commissioner Stokes. Anything to that, please vote. And that passes 5-0. City Clerk, public comment?
Yes, I have Stephen Harrison, followed by Valdi Oleander.
Good evening, City Commissioners and staff. My name is Stephen Harrison, and I am here today to talk about 5.2 of the city's charter. It should be noted that I am a member of the Charter Review Advisory Board, but I am here speaking on behalf of myself. I am not, by any means, speaking on behalf of the board. It also should be known that I am not taking a biased position on this situation, and I have respect for each and every one of you. I'm just a concerned resident that sees an issue that can easily be resolved. For this issue, the best course of action to take is to replicate what other communities around us have already done. For context, I want to read the legal opinion given to the city by Nikki Day. In the conclusion section, it says, the Charter's non-interference clause is a lawful and essential limitation designed to protect professional administration. Well, with the City of Venice, in Section 3 of Venice's charter, their non-interference clause is set except for the purpose of inquiry and investigations, the City Council shall deal with city officers and employees who are subject to the direction of the city manager. Also, for Port Charlotte, in Section 2 of the county charter, their non-interference clause is also except for the purposes of inquiry and information, the members of the Board of County Commissioners shall not interfere with the performance of the duties of any employee of the county who is under the direct or indirect supervision of the city manager. Other areas in Florida that include similar language to these two include Pinellas County, Brevard County, Lee County, City of Seminole, Polk County, Columbia County, City of Zephyr Hills, and many others. For our charter, we can include language such as, except for the purposes of inquiry or information, the City Commission and its members shall deal with city officers and employees who are subject to the direction and supervision of the city manager. On to a different topic. It would be nice to see the commission do something about this board vacancy issue. Many residents came up before and spoke about it. I've came here and spoke about it and what to fix. I believe the city clerk even did a dissertation recently that you guys talked about, and still nothing has gotten done. I'm going to make this vacancy issue the topic of my capstone for my degree. Both mentioned topics need actual in-depth policy analysis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Valdi Olander. I came here in peace, and I am not a criminal. I have a dignity. Please respect my dignity. In Northport Police Department core values under respect reads, we recognize the value of individuality and treat people with all dignity. Really? Do you understand definition individuality? So I am using Florida constitutional language here. Right to instruct their representatives. Mr. Emmerich, please remove cup of my back. I am instructing you. On December 11, Attorney Fuino stated, your policies, resolutions are not laws. How about the rules? They're not laws either. Ask him. In City Charter, Article 6, Section 6, 02B in parentheses, calls the rules to enforcement of order under the direction of the presiding officer. That's you, Mr. Emmerich. There is nothing about the cop intimidating a speaker like me today. Again, I am instructing you to remove him off my back. I already went through the metal detector. How many times are you going to insult me? Changing the subject, I am instructing you, please pass an ordinance that we have a rain once a week of at least 1 inch. Remember, last year I instructed you to pass an ordinance to stop hurricanes. Did we have hurricanes? Going back to core values of Northport Police Department. We value the police public trust, citizens having given up their right to enforce their right. Emmerich, I want a document where I, Valdi Hollander, given up my rights to be here. Please ask you, attorney, and Mr. Emmerich or others. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Announcements, City Clerk?
The current vacancies for the following boards and committees include the Art Advisory Board, Auditor Selection Committee, Charter Review Advisory Board, Citizen Tax Oversight Committee, Community Economic Development Advisory Board, Debt Management Committee, Environmental Advisory Board, Firefighters Pension Trust Fund Board of Trustees, Historic and Cultural Advisory Board, Joint Management Advisory Board, Northport Police Officers Pension Trust Fund Board of Trustees, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Planning and Zoning Advisory Board, and Veterans Park Advisory Committee. Sarasota County Advisory Council vacancies include 1 resident in Northport to serve on the Sarasota-Manatee Metropolitan Planning Organization Citizen Advisory Committee, and 1 resident of Northport to serve on the Citizens Oversight Committee for School Facility Planning. If anyone would like more information, please see the City Clerk's office.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. City Manager, has any of the items been pulled, sir?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
All right, City Clerk, we got any public comment?
We do not.
All right, I'll request a motion.
I'll make it. Move to approve the items in consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor made by Commissioner Stokes to approve the items in the consent agenda as presented, seconded by Vice Mayor Langdon. Anything to that? If not, please vote. And that passes 5-0. Moving on to public hearings, ordinance first reading, ordinance number 2026-03. I request a motion to direct the city clerk to read by title only.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor made by Commissioner Stokes to direct the city clerk to read by title only, seconded by Vice Mayor Langdon. If nothing to that, please vote. And that passes 5-0. City Clerk?
Ordinance number 2026-03, an ordinance of the City of Northport, Florida regarding golf carts and low-speed vehicles, amending the code of the City of Northport, Florida by removing subsection B of section 74-152, providing for findings, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions? Discussion? Or Mr. Fletcher, this is your item. I'm sorry. I skipped.
It's okay. I was very confident. So this item, 2 streets currently are identified in section 74-152B, Panacea Boulevard and Biscayne Drive, having posted speed limits of 35 miles per hour or less. The Northport Police Department has reviewed the LSV operations on these streets and identified no safety concerns. Ordinance number 26-03 would permit LSVs to operate on these 2 roadways or any other roadways in the city with an operational speed limit of less than 35 miles per hour. Ordinance number 2026-03 serves the public health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the city of Northport. We recommend that you approve option 1, which is approving the ordinance number 2026-03 as presented, and continue the second reading on February 10th, 2026. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Now I'm going to skip the commissioners. No, I'm just kidding. Commissioners, anything? I see nothing. City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We do not.
All right, I'm going to close this public hearing and request a motion.
I'll make it.
Go ahead.
I move to continue ordinance number 2026-03 to second reading on February 10th, 2026.
Second it.
I have a motion on the floor made by Vice Mayor Langdon to continue ordinance number 2026-03 to second reading on February 10th, 2026. That was seconded by Commissioner Stokes. If nothing to that, please vote. And that passes 5-0. Moving on to general business. Item number 26-0288, discussion and possible action regarding the draft facility lease policy for city-owned facilities. Mr. Fletcher, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As our Public Works Director, Chuck Speak, makes his way down, I just want to remind you that at the December 2nd, 2024 Commission meeting workshop, the Commission reviewed preliminary recommendations for a facility lease policy, including approaches to valuing city-owned facilities in general lease terms. During that discussion, the Commission requested additional information regarding existing lease terms and associated costs to support the development of a more consistent and transparent approach to establishing rental rates for city-owned property. I will turn it over to Mr. Speak, and he will guide us through the conversation. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Commission. Chuck Speak, Public Works Director. We're bringing back, based on the conversations we had in December of 24, the facility lease policy. This policy, we have two choices that we need some direction from Commission. If you remember, this policy has been thoroughly reviewed through the City Attorney's Office. So the options we have here are the options that they have provided for us that cover the city as far as bias and legal issues when it comes to giving discounts and non-for-profits that are in city facilities. So option one is to bring back, option one is to bring back the facility lease policy for formal Commission approval using a set price per square foot for all leased property. Okay, this will be a number that the Commission would come up with on their own. It can be based on market value, it can be based on whatever it needs to be, but it has to be consistent across all use. The option two is to bring back the facility lease policy for formal Commission approval using a set discount based on market value. So in this option, what you would do is we would take that market value for each property, understanding that each property would have a different market value based on the condition of the building, where the building is. We would have our real estate consultant get those market values. You would decide on what a set discount rate would be, a percentage of that market value. That would be used for any qualifying applicant that was a not-for-profit that qualified based on the qualifications that are in the lease policy. So we can go through the lease policy if you want to go through that. I'm sure there may be some questions. What I'm trying to get across to you is these options may seem restrictive, and I know in the past it's been kind of everyone that comes up was different. That is not the right approach for these type of leases. So we're looking for consistency so it can be legally defendable.
We'll get questions.
Yes, sir.
Commission, any questions? I know I have one, because I read through this, and basically you're going off of market value mostly for the most part out there, which I'm good with. But when you said option two, that's when you mentioned the nonprofits. So let's say we had a set rate at market value, this, that, and the other, and nonprofits would qualify, I'm just throwing this up there, 25% off, whatever. Could that be included into the lease agreement that we're looking at? Or would that 25% have to go to anybody that wanted a discount for that? Or can we set it just for non-for-profit?
So that would be just for a non-for-profit, and they would have to meet those qualifying terms within the lease agreement. So they would have to provide us with the information that we requested with what their benefit to the city is, their annual reports, all of those.
Which is fine. I just wanted to make sure that there was a mechanism if we decided to move forward with non-for-profits, because they do have a government use, this, that, and the other, and that they are helping the community. And I just didn't want it out there blatantly, just because somebody has X, they get 25% off.
Correct. They would have to meet the qualifications that are stated. Yes, sir.
That's all I wanted to clear on. Okay, Commissioner Duval?
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, my question is right along the same lines. If we set it with a discount based on market value, do all nonprofits get the same discount? Or say there's a very well-established, fairly well-funded nonprofit, maybe they can afford more than, say, a newer nonprofit that's smaller, and, you know, say if they were both trying to get space in the same building, you know, they were vying for the same piece of property, would that discount be based, would it be the same for all, or would it be based on affordability or, as you said, value to the community?
Right, so and I'll answer that. That's a couple of different questions. I'll start with the percentage or the discount of market. If that's the option you go with, that is the option for all nonprofits. Okay, so what that does is it keeps us from having to defend why we feel one nonprofit is more valuable to the city than another, right? Which is the box we're trying to get out of now. As far as the two vying for the same space, that would be a commission question, right? The commission would have the opportunity, if we have two that apply for the same, those will be brought to the commission, and that would be up to the commission to decide which one of those nonprofits got that space. But it would be at the same rate if that was the option chosen.
And that's fair.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is that all, Commissioner? Vice Mayor Langdon, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple of concerns on my part, but first let me say I do support both the Mayor and Commissioner Duval that we need a combination. I'm good with market value of the building, but as part of that I would want to see some kind of discounting strategy for nonprofits, and consistency is the best course of action. However, I have one comment and one concern. One concern is for nonprofits currently leasing our space, I'd like to have a sense of what are they currently paying compared to the market rate. And so when we make a determination of what kind of discount to apply to nonprofits, we have some sense of what's the impact going to be to them. Is it going to be a 50% jump in their lease fee? You sort of get where I'm going with that. So some type of an impact analysis I'd like to see before making a decision on the final proposal. One of my stumbling blocks with consistency when it comes to nonprofits is I see a real difference between nonprofits that are 100% volunteer and those who have paid staff. And for the most part, those with paid staff have some type of ongoing funding, either from the federal government or the state government. I really view those nonprofits in a different category as those that are 100% volunteer and sort of generate their funds on the generosity of the community. So I don't know whether it's legal or desirable to disqualify a nonprofit with ongoing funding. SCORE, which I used to be a part of, gets regular funding through a federal department, and so they maybe should be more than a small local nonprofit who's totally volunteer driven. So that's sort of the one little quirk in all of this. And I'd be interested in your thoughts on how Solomon would split that baby.
So, and this has been in legal for, I don't know, the last back and forth about 18 months on this lease policy on just that kind of an issue, right? And it really comes down to when you start making those decisions, you as a board or you're saying that one's more desirable than another. And that's when you start getting into trouble with nonprofits, right? You have to look at them either completely equal for a discount or you don't give a discount at all.
Well, why would it be viewed as desirable or not? I don't think we would be making that type of judgment call. It's simply acknowledging that some nonprofits are more local derivatives of what is really a state or a federal program. They have resources that are, volunteer-driven nonprofits don't. So I see it as more an acknowledgement of that fact. Some of those organizations also receive money for some or all of their rent. So I just see it as a very different, it's not a matter of desirability, it's a recognition that not all nonprofits are created equal, and some are able, because of whatever, to tap into that kind of ongoing funding that others do not have.
Sure, and again.
City attorney's in the queue. I'd like to have him answer before you.
Absolutely, I'm sure he's on the same page I am.
I don't want to speak for the director, but to answer your question, Commissioner, without going too far upstream with it, the law generally requires us to treat like entities alike. Whether they're properly funded or not really is somewhat an irrelevant point to the fact that they are not-for-profit entities. So we're trying to treat them all the same, which is what I hope, not qualified, what I think the director was speaking to when he was talking about the desirability factor.
Right, and remember, any discount has to relate to the benefit to the city. So
I'm sorry.
to the benefit that the nonprofit gives to the city. And that's why we have these requirements in here for reporting if they're going to get that discount.
Okay, thank you for that. No?
Commissioner Stokes.
Yeah. Perhaps the better way is not so much, it's more subjectivity is to me the issue, whether they're funded regularly, whether they get grant money periodically, whether they're accustomed to getting the same grants year after year. It creates a level of, it injects a level of subjectivity that I don't think a road we don't want to go down. I just think we're opening ourselves up to all kinds of exposure here. What's good for one is good for all. And we decide what the discount should be, and that's what it should be off a market. The question I had is, if I remember correctly, the definition of property included land, buildings. What happens if someone wants to lease a piece of city property, land? Like, how would that be done? Would we go out and get an appraisal on, somebody wanted 3 acres of land that we owned and said, I want to lease that land, and go out and get an appraisal and then apply the same discount? Would that be, land versus building? Is there any difference there?
So for the term of the lease or this policy, you could lump them together, but we put out for these when we're going to have people put an application in for this, whatever parcel property this is. So the only time you would have land is if we were working through an MOU with an organization, kind of like what we've been working on with the Art Center, right, and possibly some others. So for vacant land, you would have a lease agreement like this as well as an MOU that would spell out those terms as far as what they could put there, how long they have to get through certain steps of that process.
But it would be conditioned on a lease, okay?
You would absolutely have a lease of the land, yes.
A lease, a land lease, okay.
But there would be an accompanying MOU to spell out
Right,
the
to spell
requirements.
out, okay. That's good, that's all I got.
One question, since we're on that, because I was gonna ask the same thing about land. That was one of the things that had come up recently between a few of our nonprofits looking for different parcels of land to set up with possibly grants. Would it also be possible if we were into that lease, let's say the Arts Center wanted that same parcel that they're on, and we get into a lease agreement with that, and they put up a $5 million building per se. Would there be an opportunity or an option for them to have a lease option to buy that property to where it would no longer become city property, but Arts Center property over a time period to where, let's say 10 years they've completed paying for the land, is what I'm saying, because it's kind of hard to put a building on a property because the property is always owned by the city, but if the Arts Center puts in X amount of funds, it should be theirs forever and ever in certain perspectives. So just wondering if there's a viable solution if that were to come to light.
So there's a few options for that, and I've seen that in other places where the city or the municipality will lease the land, someone else builds a building, they're in charge of the building. There's two ways that go. It's either a long-term lease, so a 99-year lease on that property, so they have their investment covered, or after so many years, the building falls back to the municipality. So there's two different mindsets, and that would be a decision of commission. Right? That would be part of the MOU or the agreement that initially was set up.
Yeah, I was just looking for the mechanism in place, so that's all. That's all I had.
And we can build that in, whatever direction is the commission's will.
All right. Thank you so very much. Anything else, commissioners?
And if I could, I can give you a few examples of the rates now versus what market would be, and then what percentage of that. I mean, I'm pretty good with math, but if, I don't want to get too deep into that, but I can tell you what the difference would be on a few of the properties if you would like that.
Sure.
Okay, so Awaken Food Pantry. That one's about 925 square feet. Currently, they're paying about $2.59 a square foot. They're paying $200 a month. Market rate for that building, again, it's dependent upon building and condition, is about $12 a square foot. So you're looking at about $925 would be 100% market. Okay, so half of that is what, $462.50?
That's at a 50% discount.
That's 50%.
That
Okay.
would double their rate, almost.
It better than double, yes. It's almost quadruple their rate currently. Because again, they're paying about $250 a square foot. If you go into one of the, let's see, in the Family Service Center, you have Meals on Wheels, about 122 square feet. Their estimated market rate is $20.25. Currently, they're paying $9.50 a square foot. So they're paying $96.58. At the market rate, they would be at $205.88. Okay, so half of that, you're looking at 102, about 103, a little less than 103, if it was at a 50%. And I'm just doing that because that's the easiest one for me to break down, right? So some of the ones most of the ones in your Family Service Center, they're paying that $9.50 a square foot. They're a little closer to what that rate would be. They're about half of what the market rate is. Market rate for that building's $20.25. So at a 25% increase, you would be looking somewhere, they would see an increase. Not a huge increase, not by double, but it would be by half. If that makes sense for those that are in there. And there's numbers all over the place. We have $1-a-year leases. That's kind of why we're here with this, try to clean all this up.
And another question that I was thinking of too is, we already have leases in place with certain organizations. if this were to go in effect, it wouldn't go into effect until their current lease has expired, correct?
That's correct.
Because this way, let's say they still got 2 to 5 years or even a year on their lease, they would have this time to contemplate on whether they want to release or relocate. Because pricing may be too high for some of them. I just want to make sure that the options are out there and they're not handcuffed by us saying this is what it's going to be, and now you got to pay this starting next month.
Right.
So,
It would be at the renewal.
okay, that's fine.
And that would be further down the line because we still have to clean this up, bring this back after we get direction today. So you're still looking at a few months down the line before we even put this policy in place.
Thank you. Commissioner Langdon, or Vice Mayor Langdon, sorry. That was the first time I messed up on
I
you
know you were
today.
doing so well, too. So what I'm seeing, first of all, let me say, I'm not opposed to anyone seeing an increase. I mean, we have not been charging enough, and we've not been maintaining buildings, and blah, 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 blah. Having said that, however, when you have one nonprofit who going to market rate is gonna see a 70% increase in their monthly lease, compared with another nonprofit who's gonna see a little increase, and we have to discount everyone the same, to discount enough so some of those nonprofits aren't really being hung out to dry because it's gonna be a pretty big step up. We're gonna lose money on the other side because other nonprofits are gonna get such a deal. That's sort of an issue. Is it legal, desirable, feasible, even after leases are up? So for a nonprofit that's gonna see a pretty significant increase in their monthly lease, can we phase it in? And in the same way we might phase the discount in for those who are gonna have a bonanza with this.
I don't think that would be equitable between the two different spaces.
But treating them the same, right? Giving them 2 or 3 years to ease into the new rate.
But you're holding back money on the one, you're holding back savings while you're holding back a debt on the other. So I don't see a way that wouldn't cause a problem. And I'm not sure how you would phase it. But we can look into that.
Yeah. You see the issue, though.
Oh, I see it, but understand that some of these buildings, it's like the Awaken, and I'm just gonna use them because they're in a building that we were just talking about. Right, so
Right.
they've been, they've been paying $2.50 a square foot.
Right.
Which is pretty cheap, even for a building in that shape, to have space. And again, they're not paying any of the utilities, they're not paying any of the repairs for that building. So we're trying to get that set back to what at least market, base your discount on the market, get us a little closer to where we have some more money to maintain these buildings like they should be maintained. And I know it's not an easy decision, but we've the city attorney's office and Public Works have been just back and forth trying to present the best options we could that are legally defensible, and this is where we are.
I see the dilemma. So we'll keep picking on the Awakened Church since they're probably the most dramatic example.
They're not. The senior center is the most dramatic.
Well, same building.
Same building.
Same building.
Just more space they had.
Right. What's the time frame for the improvements? We voted in patching up that building to kind of delay the inevitable for a goodly period of time.
So we have a meeting next week with some of the stakeholders there to go over kind of some priorities.
Right.
You're probably looking at 6 months worth of repairs on those buildings.
That might begin when, because their lease is up this summer, correct? It's at the end of June?
Correct.
It's the end of June. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this summer. So I will start, as soon as we figure out what some priorities are, we'll start making some repairs of the main systems in the building.
Yeah.
We're looking for every option there.
Any way to legally, and I don't expect you to answer this tonight, but if the thought has merit, maybe we can look into it. If a nonprofit is able to do some fundraising or get some grants, and they can become a partner in the repair and or maintenance of the facility, could we somehow net that out of their lease? Just sort of a thought. It's sort of like buying down a couple of points on your mortgage, right?
Sure, I don't know that we have a mechanism
You
to accept
know what I'm
funds from
saying.
them at this point. We
Similar.
would have,
Right.
that would require MOU.
We'd have to look into it.
It would require some documentation, for sure.
Yeah. I think it would be worth pursuing.
It probably would be best to talk to the nonprofits first to see if that
It's
was,
feasible for them.
if they were interested in
And
that
again, I
avenue.
wouldn't require it, but if one of them is willing and able, why not? Just a thought.
Okay.
I think basically what she's asking is if they got like into the repairs and everything, could their sweat equity be used as lease payments?
Right, and I think it would be.
I just figured I'd throw that one
It
at you,
would be
Jack.
difficult for us to put a monetary value. I mean, we know what it may cost for us to have a contractor do it. I think it would be hard, not that it's impossible. I think it could be difficult for us to put a price tag on that. It would have to be something agreed upon, and I feel it would need paperwork.
Yeah, we definitely would need to look into it. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Great questions, though.
Commissioner Stokes.
Boy, I don't see how this really ends very well for us as a city. You know, it's, I mean, the reality is we're gonna spend 6 months, we're gonna fix up that, I'll continue to pick on, or not pick on, but to point to the Awaken Food Pantry. You know, once we improve that building, okay, the market value on that is gonna go up. They're getting almost a 79% discount off of market now. When market goes through the roof, if we standardize the discount at 50% or 40%, they are gonna be looking at, they are gonna get annihilated. And, you know, then we got, to me, the bigger issue is we don't have enough space for all to afford nonprofits an opportunity. I mean, you know, it's different if you're in the social services building there, you're renting an office or a suite like Meals on Wheels or one of those. They should pay, you know, and 50%, if that's what commission thinks is a fair discount, that's cool. But what if there's a third facility and another? I mean, it just seems to me like it would be so much easier if they could all be housed in one city-owned facility where it was pretty standardized. If someone had unique needs like the food pantry does, then, you know, they can go it on their own. They can find, you know, whether they want to, you know, bite the bullet and pay that fair market, that discount off of fair market for their space, or go find space elsewhere, because there isn't really space elsewhere for them, not in this city, that I could find. So it's just fraught with inequities and imbalance. This is, no matter what we do here, this ain't gonna end. We're gonna have people that are, you know, good nonprofits who are contributing to our community that are gonna have brain damage over this. I mean, you know, I don't see how we're gonna go. What are we gonna do? Discount fair market 80%? And people pay 20% of fair market value. So, you know, maybe is that where we're gonna end up? That's where we're gonna end up, because nobody's gonna be willing to charge nonprofit more than what they're already paying. So we're gonna go to the lowest level, which is probably what Awaken, and I don't know what the senior center's paying, but whatever the least amount
anybody's paying, that's gonna be the bar. And then everybody else is gonna get a break
Free
to go
ride.
down to that. And then we're gonna argue over, well, yeah, but in the social service building, they got bathrooms and they got vending machines and they got a whole lot of different environment than they would in another facility, and there's the inequity again. This is, I don't see how you do this in a fair way. I don't know, I'm like, but I can appreciate city attorney's advice, which is whatever we do, it's gotta be equitable. It's gotta be. There ain't no special deals for anybody because they raise money or they have more money or they do more good. It's just, you do that, you're just opening yourself up to a lawsuit. So I don't know how we skin this cat. Anyway, that's all I got to say because I got no solutions to this.
Commissioner Petro.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this is a tough topic. And I do understand the importance of consistency, because we have to be consistent all across the board and not giving favorable conditions one non-for-profit over the other one. But nevertheless, we have to look individually as far as what value do they bring to the city. And non-for-profits fill critical government needs, community needs, if you will, by delivering essential services, community services. And I'll bring Awaken again. I don't think they do it for the monetary gain. I do believe, truly believe that they do it out of the goodness of their heart. They do not collect any membership fees. They do not collect any dues. What they do is they give out not just what they have, but they give out their time, and more than just time, the energy and, standing in the sun. It's very tough, but in the sense that the non-for-profits offer specialized support for the community, I think, for example, if we house them at the different buildings, and each building is different. For example, if we build a new building, state of the art, right, 5 bathrooms and all the AC is working, don't we have to charge more based on that building because we've invested more? And that's, so not discount the inconsistency or consistency in that matter, but in all fairness, we do have to be partially biased because each building is unique. And also each non-for-profit is unique. For example, some non-for-profits, they charge fees, charge dues, charge membership, and yet they are not so much essential to the community as opposed to Awaken or some other. And I'm not elevating one non-for-profit over the other. I'm just saying. So this was worth of a discussion. I guess we have to look into that criteria of what each non-for-profit is offering to the community. And food, in my opinion, is essential for the people, especially in hard times or in events of a disaster, where the city cannot do those faith-based or those like non-for-profits, they fill that gap. And in my opinion, if it's essential, we have to treat them not more favorably, but charge them less, if you will. But again, I see what the city attorney is saying. So maybe we can develop a system of essential services. But again, I can see what Commissioner Stokes is saying, and it's really tough. I guess this doesn't end here, not end today, but at least we have a good start. But I would want to proceed in that direction where we look at the functionality of each non-for-profit and the building they rent. Because if it's a new building, we have to charge more.
Sure, and if I can touch on that, that's why we're pushing market value, and the market value would be for that space that they're trying to rent. So the market value for the area where Awaken is right now is less than what market value is over at the Family Service Center. So they do pay more there because it is a newer building.
Okay, that's all for me, Mayor.
Commissioner Duval.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got to agree with Commissioner Stokes on this. There's no way we can win on this. At first I looked and said, you know, the price per square foot, nah, I don't like that. I said, you know, the set discount based on market value. But then we get into, you know, as Commissioner Petro was just talking about, you know, how do we value each one? But we've got to be equitable. And my final thought that came to me is, when we talk about being equitable, we have to be considering that third party, and that's the taxpayers. Taxpayers, you know, anything we as a commission give to a nonprofit or to any entity that belongs to the city or is property of the city, that's something that we're making the taxpayers pay for. So I kind of look at this and say, wow, I don't know how we can do any of this. It's really, this is, you know, if we've got to do something, we've got to do it equitably, as the city attorney said. But
And Commissioner Langdon, before you go next, would you indulge me to make one comment off of?
1 minute, don't take 10 minutes, Commissioner.
If I recall, the Awakened Food Pantry serves way more than Northport residents. Way more.
They do.
So to Commissioner Duval's point, it even exasperates that issue. Should Northport,
Because the taxpayer is subsidizing. When we give someone a break, we all are subsidizing that break. Yeah, what I wanted to comment on.
Let me get my timer out for you now.
I'll keep it brief.
2-minute one.
Right now, my understanding, there's so much discrepancy because we've kind of valued the space differently. And by that I mean, again, Family Service Center, it's really nice office space and people can have clients in and they have, you know, air conditioning, bathrooms, common space, all of that wonderful stuff. Whereas, again, we'll keep picking on the food pantry. Most of their space is warehouse. You know, they take in donations, clothing, food, whatever, and it's warehoused. So I guess I'm circling back to market value. And what role does the quality of the space, so not so much the physical quality of the space, but the usefulness of that space. And so I think part of the reason, correct me if I'm wrong, that was sort of all over the place now, is we've evaluated the use of that space. So something that was office space, we charged more per square foot. Something that was storage, we charged less. But 3 or 4 years ago, Pete, you might remember this, we went through a process of fairness, you know, a typical, you know, a very similar kind of conversation. And so what we did was have, if someone is renting storage space from us, it had a number, and anybody who was renting storage space had a number versus office space. Am I remembering correctly? Is that kind of how we got here?
So we got here because of just the discrepancies in all of these leases. So it wasn't even per square foot, because if we look at the senior center and their lease, right, they've got almost 5,000 square feet. They pay the same as Awaken, $200 a month.
Right.
So they're paying about 49 cents a square foot. It was basically the city at whatever time in its history, not this commission, but some commission at some point said 200 a month sounds great.
Yeah.
Let's do that. And they kind of stuck with that. And I mean, you find that when there's not a policy in place, that whatever that the wind blows that day, whichever direction is where we end up,
Right.
which is kind of how we ended up here with a policy now in front of us as we're coming up to these leases that are renewing. And now that we've got, we've compiled all the leases in one space and we're trying to make them all the same legally as well as financially. That's really why we got here. So at some point, the Family Service Center, somebody decided $9.50 a square foot was the price for that place, right? So that's what that number has been. And that's the reason why those are closer to what market is. Like I said, market for that building is about $20.25 per square foot. Market for the other building where Awaken and the senior center, that one's about $12 a square foot. So we do take into account condition, use. That's what we use as comparables when we pull these market values.
Would it be easier to reflect the use of the space, and I'm just brainstorming here, if we went to square foot instead of market value, to have different levels of space? So if it's really finished office space, it's X per square foot. If it's really storage space, you see where I'm kind of going with that, it's Y per square foot.
That's kind of where we got where we are, through comparables that are on the market now. So comparable spaces. So we are looking at a really nice finished office space, not brand new,
Right.
not old and run down, is your 20-25 per square foot.
So what I'm hearing you say is that the market value is taking all of that into consideration.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm looking for a way out, guys. Help me out here.
Yeah, and I had a thought, because I was thinking along similar lines.
Go ahead, Commissioner Stokes.
Oh, I thought you recognized.
No.
Oh, sorry, I was only one of the
Let me
few.
flip this over.
Market rate, if you're looking at a warehouse space, it's gonna have a different market rate than a finished office space. So some of that is accounted, as Commissioner, or as Vice Mayor said. Is it legally defensible to vary your discount based on the type of space? So if you're, could we legally defend that if we said if we're gonna lease warehouse space or storage space versus finished office space, commission decides, we got a 50% discount on office space, but we can discount a greater degree on warehouse space. Is that legally defensible?
I don't even think I'd want to go down that road.
Well, I don't know, I'm just asking the question.
No, to be honest, if you're gonna do discounts, especially if you're doing nonprofits, it's 50% for the nonprofits. It's not gonna be 50% and then 75% because it's warehouse. It's still gonna be 50%, but it's also gonna show that warehouse space would be cheaper than finished office space. So it would be automatically
built into the market rate.
Right. Because going beyond that, you're using taxpayer funds and
It's a little hairy.
you have to be able to prove a different benefit from those two places to give them different discounts, which would be very difficult.
Yeah, this horse is now a charcoal briquette. So I see nothing else. City Clerk, we got any public comment? All right. Looking for a motion?
I need input. I can't walk away.
Here, I'll make it.
I've been dying to bang this thing.
You go right ahead.
Don't bang it off his head.
I move to direct the city manager to bring back the facility lease policy for formal commission approval using a set discounted based on market value.
Second.
You're up.
Yeah, I'm up. We have a motion on the floor made by Mayor Emmerich and seconded by Commissioner Duval to direct the city manager to bring back a facility lease policy for formal commission approval using a set discount based on market value. Is there anything more to that, gentlemen? Then let's vote. And that motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
That's my bill.
Oh, you ended it. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaks.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that thankless agenda topic.
Moving on to item B, 26-0331, discussion and possible action regarding the City of Northport 2026 state and federal legislative priorities. Mr. Fletcher, what do you want from us?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if you remember back in October, we talked about the state and federal legislative priorities and our upcoming trip to Tallahassee. And we did remove support for the widening extension of Toledo Blake Boulevard and I-75. We included basic community needs sections focused on safe, clean, and affordable community. No revisions to the federal legislative priorities at that time. So we are going up to Tallahassee next week to talk to our representatives, and knowing that we have the little brochure that we take with us and we do hand it out to the representatives that we speak to, the question is, do we want to compile anything else as we go up there? My suggestion would be for us to have a few talking points related back to some of the issues that are front and center in front of us and probably the entire state at this point. As we create our budget, we are going through budget scenarios that might include different phased in or different discounts to property tax that might have an impact on the city. So knowing that property tax is one, our team is compiling some data that will sort of reflect the property tax that we receive, the basis of how we receive it, commercial versus residential, talking about, you know, our infrastructure needs and how property tax sort of plays into making sure that we have our ability to function as a city. I don't think we'll be alone, but I think that the more that they hear it echoed and hearing it from Northport, even though we're growing as fast as we are, we know that growth does not exactly equal cash today. So we need to make sure that we sort of tell our story so that no one else tells it for us. And then of course, home rule is another big one that we seem to have under fire right now, and reiterating that while we're up there as well. Aside from that, we all know that funding and appropriation requests come from projects that are already fully funded, because that's the way they like to see them projected before they will get involved. And our EOC is now fully funded and about to go, so that would be a good project if we want to pick a project to say, hey, how can you help us? It's not very expensive, but it does meet the criteria of what they would look for. So those are just my recommendations, Mr. Mayor, on how you want to guide the conversation for next week.
Yeah, no, I agree, and you know as well as I do, by going up there, they've always brought to us what other, you know, municipalities have brought to them and their questions and everything, and we have a roundtable discussion with them, which is very open and it's very good. But yeah, I agree, those need to be discussed, and I'm sure they will be. And but anyways, Commissioner Stokes, you're up.
Yeah, that was exactly the two items that I was going to highlight. I mean, certainly preemptions, you know, Bill 180 and the new one that they're trying to tweak 180 with, you know, is fraught with some issues too. There's just, I mean, it's just over and over and over again. It's my inclination that we ought to, as a city, in a respectful way, make it very clear to our representatives that, you know, they're making it harder and harder for us to govern our cities. They're making it more and more difficult for us to make land use decisions, and they continue to pile it on themselves, you know, and you know, this is not going to end well for local government. So I'm all in on making it very clear to our electors. And I know we walk a fine line because we get our appropriations and our dollars from them. So we want to be so careful we don't, you know, offend anybody. But at the same time, they continue to chisel away at all our municipal rights, and it's getting harder and harder to operate and answer citizens' questions when they want to know why we can't be more difficult with certain type of development. Why? Because the state doesn't allow us. Because what was intended for good purposes turned out to be not well thought through. So there's that. Certainly property tax is a major item too. And I would hope that staff is, when they prepare information for us to go with, breaking down what our homesteaded general fund revenues are, and then based on some of what Tallahassee's talking about, what would be the real dollar impact? How many millions would disappear from our coffers? Because then we can look at saying to our representatives, well, if we can't cut public safety and we can't touch education, based on these numbers, if you phase this in over 10 years and you take 10% away a year, within 2 or 3 years, we're going to have to shut down every other department in our government that gets funded by general fund. We need to be able to say that to these people to get it through their heads that what they're doing up there is going to be catastrophic. And hopefully there's enough municipalities already telling them that kind of stuff, but we should make our opinions known and not worry so much about we're going to hurt people's feelings, because they need to hear it. And we get lip service. Yeah, I hear you, this is all politics. But bottom line is, this group up there is going to do something. And what they do is going to hurt this city more than it will many other cities. And FLC ain't doing a whole lot over the years. So maybe we need to speak up a little more on our own in a respectful way.
So you're going to stay home?
If you'd like me to.
No. Commissioner DeValle.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we should record what Commissioner Stokes just said and play it for those legislators when we go to see them.
Outstanding.
He's just basically right. A number of times in the past year, I've heard, we kind of we have to be nice to them because they give us this, they've done this for us, that for us. These bills, that SB 180 and all the other things that are coming along, they're just hurting us, and it's time for us to tell them, if you keep hurting us like this, we're going to have to do something to make sure that you can't hurt us in the future. That's all.
The one thing that I would suggest to everybody, we've got a long drive going up there, and as each commissioner sitting there, think about what you want to say, because the fact is our meetings are very time sensitive. We're within 20 to 30 minutes per legislator to have those discussions. So think out what you want to say and make it appropriate, and tell them exactly how you feel. And they don't mind listening. They really don't. And then we also have dinner with a few of them one evening. You'll have an extra chance to talk to them in a more casual setting rather than in the legislature building. So just think about that on your trip up there, on what you want to say. We'll have our cards and stuff, and we'll just, yeah. And we'll do the best we can, absolutely. So, is there any public comment?
There's none.
All right, so city manager, you're looking for a motion to revise this, is what you're looking at, to add those, or are they already there on our new card?
We're going to keep the new card the way it is because you voted on that in October. I'm just going to prepare some talking points and bullet points as a one-pager to hand to each of us, so we're all saying the same thing at the same time.
That works for me, because I didn't want to have to go and redo that whole card between now and Monday when we're leaving, so.
Right.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm looking for a motion.
I'll take a shot.
Okay.
I move to instruct city manager to prepare a set of talking points to supplement our existing priorities that discuss the impact of potential property tax cuts on the ability of the city of Northport to continue delivering effective city services, and to also present the Emergency Operations Center as a project for which we are requesting state funding.
All right, I have a motion on the floor made by Vice Mayor. City Clerk, can you read that back, please?
To direct the city manager to prepare a set of talking points to supplement the existing priorities, including impact of potential property tax cuts on the ability of the city of Northport to continue delivering effective city services, and to present the EOC as a project which we are requesting state funding.
Do I have a second? Okay, and that's been seconded by Commissioner Stokes. Anything to that, Commissioners? Vote. And that passes 5-0. Moving on to item C, 26-0340, discussion and possible action regarding accepting an invitation from Sarasota County Board of County Commissioners to schedule a joint meeting of the two commissions in 2026. Mr. Fletcher, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the city received a letter from Mr. Jonathan Lewis, the administrator of Sarasota County, on January the 7th. They are inquiring as to whether the City of Northport Commission desires to schedule a joint meeting with the two commissions in this calendar year of 2026. Normally, when we get this request, we discuss the invitation to have the meeting, and then you might want to sort of brainstorm some ideas of topics to discuss with the county. I know you all have expressed, different topics of conversation with the county at various times. But if we do accept this invitation, I'm thinking it would be in the fall, as their spring schedule is probably filled out. Summer contains vacations, and then when people come back in early fall, I'm thinking somewhere probably in mid to late September to mid to late October is probably the first time you're going to be able to get on their calendar. But we will explore that through our office and the clerk's office and the different teams to make sure that we give you back some options as soon as we can if you decide to have the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I agree, but I think it's a little bit premature for topics at this point right now if we plan on meeting in the fall, because a lot could change between now and then. So, I mean, yes, I would personally agree to the meeting, but what we wish to talk about, I wouldn't know about that. But Commissioner Duvall, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with the city manager on this. I think this is something we should do. And I think it really helps us, if it is in the fall, to give us the time through either each of us commissioners putting our ideas, maybe through our one-on-ones, to the city manager, or we schedule a workshop sometime between now and the fall, depending upon when we find out when they want to do this, to put our ideas on paper, so to speak. That's it.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Yes, I agree with everything that has been stated. The only thing I can think of that we might want to talk about is we'll have a much better idea in the fall what's happening with the whole property tax issue. And based on that, I mean, the county is going to be impacted just as much as the city is going to be, and we might want to do some brainstorming on how we work in a more regional way, perhaps, to impact what's happening in Tallahassee. So that would be the only topic that I think would survive the ensuing months.
Commissioner Stokes.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of a few. We got
you know, annex property we're talking about. We've got areas of unincorporated Sarasota County that sit between, you know, the Welland Park area and some of Legacy that need addressing. I mean, I can think of a whole list of things that, you know, a workshop would lend itself to. So I like the idea Commissioner Duval had of doing that at some point in time, you know. And Commissioner and Vice Mayor made a really good point. You know, as much as we like to stand on our own 2 feet as the biggest city in this county and continuing to grow, at the same time, depending on what kind of draconian steps Tallahassee might make, it will have significant impact on perhaps what we as municipalities and our county might have to do to consolidate services and do some things. I mean, God forbid they really go off the deep end and put something on the ballot that the folks are gonna vote on. People are gonna vote for a tax cut no matter what goes on that ballot. And the implications could be so severe that it may change the structure of local and county government in this state. So I would say there'll be probably a lot of stuff to talk about in the fall. That's it, Mayor.
Commissioner Langdon,
And just
or
one-
Vice Mayor Langdon.
You were doing so well. Just a quick comment building off of what Commissioner Stokes said. Right now, we have the luxury of redundancy. So what I mean by that is Sarasota is a big county. The needs of North County and South County are sometimes very, very different. And so we've had the luxury of redundant parks and rec, redundant social services, redundant emergency operations, and we might have to talk to our county brethren that we simply can't afford to do those kinds of things. And how do we pool our resources together so that we don't negatively impact the health and safety and quality of life of the folks who live here? It's going to be a big challenge.
All right. I see nothing else. City Clerk, we got any public comment?
There is none.
I'll request a motion. Nobody?
Yeah, I'll make it. I move to direct city manager to work with Sarasota County Administrator to schedule a joint meeting with the Sarasota County Board of County Commissioners.
I have a motion on the floor made by Commissioner Stokes to direct the city manager to work with Sarasota County Administrator to schedule a joint meeting with the Sarasota County Board of County Commissioners. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Mayor Langdon. If there's nothing to that, please vote. And that passes 5-0. Moving on to, is there any public comment?
There is none.
All righty, Commission Communications, Commissioner Duval.
I have none, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Stokes.
I have none, Mayor.
All right, it's mine, and Heather wanted to be out of here by 7, but I apologize due to Commissioner Langdon and Commissioner Stokes, so that's all I have. Vice Mayor Langdon?
Way to throw us under the bus, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Just for
We'll
that,
remember
Mayor,
that.
I have a report.
Okay, good. It's about time.
There you go.
First, I just want to comment on the celebration of life or funeral of Victor Cleveland. It was just an incredible event, one of the most touching ceremonies I have ever witnessed, and it was just so heartwarming to see how the fire and rescue community kind of just gathered together to put their arms around that family. Also, I just want to comment, the annual meeting, the COGS meeting hosted by our school board and that organization is one of my favorite meetings for the year. And it was particularly rewarding to acknowledge that the school board is investing over $300 million in the city of Northport over the next several years. New high school in Welland Park, expansion of our technical training with the Suncoast Technical College, and the almost $100 million being spent on the old Northport High School to improve its HVAC system and to enrich its educational labs. So that was, I think, a great meeting for the city of Northport, and I don't think I've ever had so much fun at a meeting as I did at that meeting. So that's all I have.
Commissioner Petro.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I attended Victor Cleveland's funeral. It was memorial service. It was very touching, and to see the first responders come together and value one's life. Also attended the Convocation of Governments. It was a really awesome meeting, very productive presentation and very informative presentation, and to see the city of Northport to be growing as we are growing. That's it.
Before we close, can we see that puppy? Was that going to be your report? I'm so sorry.
City manager's report?
Wow.
No, city attorney's report, sorry.
Oh, look at that.
City clerk?
Are you outside the dog here?
Stick to the script.
City manager,
You're last. During this week on our consent agenda, we had a couple of items that referenced our canine officers. And I believe it was Vice Mayor Langton who asked for one of them to attend the meeting. So here is one of our canine officers attending the meeting based on the topics that were discussed this week for the board. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much for bringing him or her.
Oh, if that's it, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting and everybody can go down and say hi. It's 7:18.